home of Jack and Lily Sullivan on your screen right now, in case you wanted a visual. Now, the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan is marked by an absence of physical evidence, credible sightings, or breakthroughs, leading to a stalled investigation on the surface. However, behind the scenes, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police have employed advanced investigative techniques such as polygraph tests and device seizures, indicating a shift from a missing persons case to a suspicious disappearance. The case has garnered significant public attention, fueled by speculation, distrust of law enforcement, and the cultural context of systemic issues affecting Indigenous communities. The date of the disappearance was May 2nd, 2025, from their home, reportedly on Gearlock Road. Their last confirmed sighting was on May 1st, 2025, with family members in public. Initial theory was that the children wandered off into the nearby woods, but this has been largely dismissed due to lack of evidence. Current status is being treated as a suspicious disappearance with polygraph tests and device seizures targeting individuals close to the children. Now, the investigative scope involves 11 RCMP units, the National Center for Missing Persons, the Canadian Center for Child Protection, and provincial and municipal law enforcement. Some investigative developments. The RCMP's investigation has evolved significantly since the children's disappearance, moving from broad search efforts to targeted scrutiny of individuals within the household. The RCMP's Truth Verification Unit is actively involved, administering polygraph tests to individuals connected to the case. It's like a bunch of Maury Poviches running around. Daniel Martell, the stepfather, publicly confirmed he was the first to volunteer for a polygraph. Isn't that convenient? Claiming it was help move the case forward. It's not like you had a fucking choice anyway. You're going to go the easy way, or are you going to do this the hard way? Of course, you want to seem like you're helping, especially when you're put on the spot. Sometimes you just got to go with things. And we act every day. We're always acting, aren't we? Now, significance of that is, according to the policing expert Chris Lewis, who's one of these gentlemen I was talking about, polygraphs are not administered to casual witnesses, but to those under suspicion. This dude says this shit on this dude says this on the nightly news. I think on Global. God damn it. That's fine. Polygraphs are not administered to casual witnesses, but to those under suspicion. That's highly suggestive. This suggests Daniel is a person of interest. Oh, isn't that worded so cleverly? Despite his claim of volunteering, RCMP's stance is that, well, they've not disclosed who was tested, how many tests were conducted, or the results, citing the need to preserve investigative integrity. The silence aligns with standard procedure, but also fuels speculation about young Daniel's status. So while polygraph results are not admissible in court, they guide investigations and investigative direction. Yeah, that's an incredible suggestion, or so I'm still hung up on this Lewis statement, or it's just a highly generalized statement. It's talking like a cop. That's just mind fucking with you. Now, that's what I think it is. They're mind fucking him on the nightly news to add stress in that sense. It's a way you can add stress because now you're steering and controlling how everybody's talking. So the RCMP has not disclosed who was tested, how many tests were conducted, or the results, citing the need to preserve investigative integrity. It's just, maybe Daniel's trying to preserve his integrity as well by not telling you guys. This silence aligns with the standard procedure, but also fuels speculation about Daniel's status. While polygraph results are not admissible in court, they guide interrogations in investigative direction. Daniel's participation does not exonerate him. It confirms he is under scrutiny. We've noticed. So both Daniel and Malaya, who's the children's biological mother, had their cell phones confiscated under judicial authorization for forensic examination. Device seizures typically occur when investigators believe the devices may contain incriminating evidence, such as location data, deleted messages, or contradictions to statements. The seizures and polygraph tests appear to be part of the same investigative phase, suggesting the RCMP is cross-referencing digital evidence with polygraph responses. No digital breakthroughs have been announced, contributing to the case's lack of concrete leads. So when they're talking about the search efforts, initial searches covered 5.5 kilometers of rugged terrain involving hundreds of searchers, police dogs, helicopters, and drivers. Targeted operations resumed on May 8th, 9th, 17th, 18th, 31st, and June 1st of 2025. No physical evidence, for example, clothing, shoes, or backpacks, as mentioned, DNA or signs of struggle was found. A single boot print near a pipeline was inconclusive. Hundreds of hours of video footage from Gearlock Road, April 28th through May 2nd, showed no trace of the children leaving the home or an unfamiliar person entering. The absence of evidence has ruled out wandered off theory, shifting focus to a criminal scenario. 488 tips have been received, but none have led to breakthroughs. Well, what the fuck is a breakthrough technically? It's just a word. Surely in 488 tips, you've got all kinds of questions. It's better than no tips. Now, the public is urged to provide video footage from Gearlock Road between April 28th and May 2nd, 25, and to submit tips directly or anonymously via Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers. I don't trust Crime Stoppers, but I guess who else are you going to call? Anyway, I'm sure there's other people you can call. No, because through Crime Stoppers, they probably have all their expensive fucking electronic gear hooked up to trace you and scope you out and come back and surveil you 10 times over and all your relatives. Hold on. I got Raiders in the cupboard. Excuse me. So the focus on Daniel Martell. This Daniel Martell, the stepfather, is a central figure in the investigation, with his actions, statements, and circumstances drawing significant attention, friends. As noted, Daniel volunteered for a polygraph and had his phone seized, aligning with RCMP actions targeting those under suspicion. His public disclosure of the polygraph contrasts with the RCMP's silence, suggesting he may be attempting to shape public perception. Daniel has given interviews to small YouTube channels and community-driven platforms expressing grief, frustration, and a desire to focus on the children. He emphasizes his cooperation, stating, "I just want everybody to focus on the kids." His statements are described as measured, logical, and controlled, lacking the raw emotion expected from a grieving parent. Well, he's the stepdad. This has raised questions about his sincerity. By avoiding major news outlets, and I don't think he actually is avoiding major news outlets. Like, what does he want? Barbara Walters? Like, who do you fucking want? Geraldo? Like, who do you consider major in that sense? I mean, you've got him on the 6 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news. Anyway, by avoiding major news outlets, Daniel appears to be curating his public image, fostering sympathy while dodging tough questions, kind of like the Proudfoots. Oh, shit. People do it in different ways, but it's all, in the end, the same. He subtly shifts focus to Malaya, hinting at her odd behavior without direct accusations. What is it you're insinuating there, Daniel? What is it you're trying to say? It would be a bit bizarre. She just up and fucking left you, deleted you off Facebook, and you don't have anything to say about it? Sayonara. You're not happy? You're sad? I mean, you just had a baby together. So the question has to come back to just a bit of a side note here. Daniel has other kids that he doesn't have. I don't know if he's able to see them or when the last time he saw them was. So maybe he's not exactly used to living in a home with so many people in that sense. It would have been stressful on him. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's done anything, but I'm wondering it. By avoiding major news outlets, I've read that. So he subtly shifts focus to Malaya, hitting on her odd behavior without direct accusations. A tactic interpreted as defensive psychology to redirect suspicion. So Daniel lost custody of his biological daughter, Meadow, shortly after the disappearance, suggesting Child Protective Services had concerns about the home environment. So I mean, he's lost all access to his child and can see. It's so bizarre. You think that he would be saying something about that in front of the camera? Because the easiest way to deal with an unfair system is to hold it accountable, drop some truth bombs if you're truly in a position to. Anyway, he describes himself as alone in a once crowded house. I hate that band. With nothing but time to just think, reflecting possible depression or a shift in self-identity. His statements aim to portray him as a caring, stable father, distancing himself from blame and seeking public validation in front of the camera. So the polygraph, device seizure, custody loss, and timeline inconsistencies got Don Wells. The polygraph, device seizure, custody loss, and timeline inconsistencies, example being the last to see the children, mark Daniel as a serious person of interest. Better start talking, chump. His public appeals and controlled demeanor suggest a calculated effort to maintain innocence, though they also deepen suspicion due to their lack of emotional depth. His claim of knowing as little as anyone else conflicts with his proximity to the children and the investigative focus on him. Yeah, that's a bullshit line, pal. His claim of knowing as little as anyone else, that's a circular comment. Only the detectives are allowed to ask you those. Now, while Daniel is the most prominent figure, other household members, particularly Malaya, are also under scrutiny. Now, Malaya's who is the biological mother, has remained largely silent with minimal public statements or media appearances. Her phone was confiscated, indicating she is part of the investigative focus. Daniel's mother reportedly noted Malaya seemed off, quote unquote, and secretive after the disappearance, raising questions about her behavior or knowledge. While less visible than Daniel, her device seizure suggests she is not excluded from suspicion. And there's also now Cody, who is the biological father, has been interviewed by the RCMP, but there is speculation he may face similar scrutiny. He's less discussed than Daniel, but his status as the biological father places him within the investigative lens. If family conflict or custody disputes are factors, Cody's role could become more significant. Now, I wonder what sort of relationship Daniel and Cody have now that Daniel has a new baby Meadow with his ex-old lady. That, he might not be all that able to, he might not be able to handle scenarios like that as well as other people. So the RCMP is likely to interrogate other household members more thoroughly, examining contradictions or gaps in their statements. If evidence suggests intentional concealment, they could face charges like obstruction of justice or conspiracy. The absence of physical evidence is a defining feature of the case, contributing to its complexity and haunting nature. No clothing, shoes, backpacks, DNA, blood, or signs of struggle were found in the home, yard, or surrounding areas, which is the woods, septic tanks, wells, mines, culverts. Hundreds of hours of footage from Gearlock Road showed no children leaving or strangers entering. No signs of decomposition or biological markers, blood, urine, or other fluids were detected. A single worn boot print near a pipeline was inconclusive and not linked to the children. The clean crime scene suggests either a meticulously planned act or that the children never left the home on foot. This supports theories of an inside job or concealment within the household. So there's been a major shift from the wandered off to suspicious disappearance at this point, friends. The initial theory that Lily and Jack wandered off has been effectively ruled out, leading to a significant investigative pivot. So the reasons for this are as follows. There's absolutely no evidence. There's no footprints, trails, or belongings supporting the theory. The geography, the rural but accessible area, makes it unlikely two young children could vanish without being seen. Witness absence. There's no neighbors, passers-by, or drivers reported seeing the children on May 2nd. A surveillance failure with functional cameras captured no trace of the children leaving. And there's a Micmac perspective. An elder emphasized that Lily, 6, would not have let Jack, who's 4, stray into the woods, and cries would have been heard. The RCMP's stance is CPL Gilliam Tremblay stated that missing persons cases are treated as suspicious until proven otherwise. That's how it should be. Yeah, but that's never how it ends up. It's all good in talk from the RCMP in that sense. Now, criminal scenarios, the investigation now explores abduction, intentional concealment, or foul play within the home. Oh, that'll give people plenty to speculate about. Polygraphs, some of the investigative tools that have applied to this scenario so far are some polygraphs, the device seizures, the national agency collaboration indicate a serious criminal investigation. So the RCMP's June 11th, 2025 update marked a tonal shift, confirming polygraph use and focus on targeted individuals. With the wandered off theory dismissed, the investigation focuses on criminal abduction scenarios, particularly those involving someone within the home. So we can go through, let's talk, well, the theory of the stranger abduction, the implausibility, no surveillance footage, eyewitnesses, or signs of forced entry, like a broken lock or damaged doors, overturned furniture, support a stranger entering the home. A stranger abducting 2 children from a house with 7 residents without noise or detection is nearly impossible. Caveat, though, a stranger with a pre-existing family connection, like a prior visitor, could have had access, especially if aided by someone inside. So the plausibility of a familial abduction, a known individual like a family member or trusted person could enter without suspicion, know the home's layout, and lure the child away quietly, or children in this case. There's no struggle, noise, or coercion suggesting the children trusted the person. The absence of external evidence points inward. The evidence alignment. No struggle, noise, or coercion suggests the children trusted the person. That's the familial abduction, someone within the family. Key figures: Daniel, the last to see the children, polygraph, device seizure, and potentially Cody, interviewed possible. Scrutiny are central. Malaya's device seizures also implicates her into being key figures into this scenario. Some of the motives are as follows. Potential motives include custody disputes, revenge, covering up prior incidents, example, abuse, neglect, or a distorted sense of projecting the children, or protecting the children, a distorted sense of protecting the children. Easy for me to say. So inside the home's crime scene, the lack of external evidence, footprints, surveillance, and struggle suggests the abduction occurred inside the home. No household member reported hearing noises or disruptions, implying that the act was quiet and orchestrated by somebody with access. Polygraphs. The RCMP are focused on their polygraphs, device seizures, and custody removals, target those inside the home, reinforcing this theory. Now, complicity, the collective silence of 7 household members raises the possibility of multiple people knowing or suspecting the truth, but not speaking due to fear, loyalty, or shame. Probably all 3. So talk a bit about the cultural and systemic context of the case. This case is deeply intertwined with systemic issues affecting Indigenous communities, particularly the Mi'kmaq and Canada's historical failures. So the Mi'kmaq community perspective is the wandered off theory is rejected. An elder dismisses the wandered off theory, citing Lily's protective nature and the improbability of silent disappearance in the cold, damp woods. They brought up family inactivity. The Brooks family, which is Malaya's lineage, known for hunting and tracking expertise, did not actively search, raising suspicions they knew the children weren't in those woods. In a cultural context, the Brooks family's guarded nature and distrust of police stem from a historical resistance to authority in unresolved cases like Tanya Brooks' 2009 murder. Now hold on for a second. Who is Tanya Brooks? Give me a moment, please. Just a second. I've got to search. So let's keep that thought in your head. So child protection, the elder highlights the 60s scoop and the millennium scoop, where Indigenous children were disproportionately removed from families. Hiding children is seen as cultural survival, not criminality. The family's silence may reflect protective instincts rather than guilt, complicating the investigation. More systemic failures. One, this is one that I keep thinking about, and that's the no Amber Alert. That tells me that the RCMP aren't even concerned about it in that scenario yet. Their main focus is inside the house. The RCMP's decision not to issue an Amber Alert, citing insufficient abduction evidence, ignored cultural nuances and fueled perception of indifference. Halting the ground search after 5 days despite no findings was seen by the Mi'kmaq community as abandonment. Transparency issues, sparse, vague updates and evasive briefings. For example, a May 7th press conference with unrelated preamble deepened distrust. And there's a biased perception. Many believe a non-Indigenous affluent family would have prompted a more urgent, transparent response. Historical parallels, cases like Helen Betty Osborne in 1971 and Robert Pickton's victims highlight systemic neglect of Indigenous missing persons. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's limited scope, excluding police government accountability, underscores ongoing reconciliation failures. That's just all bullshit. They want to say sorry for genocide. Now, the disproportionate removal of Indigenous children fuels distrust, as seen in Daniel's custody loss and the elders' accounts of arbitrary seizures. The RCMP's next moves are likely to intensify scrutiny on the household, given the lack of external leads. More in-depth questioning of household members to uncover the contradictions or gaps. These are future investigative steps by the RCMP. Device analysis, which is forensic examination of seized phones, computers, may yield location data, messages, or media contradicting statements. Now, compelling evidence would lead to formal charges with potential detention if suspects risk destroying evidence or fleeing. Mounting public pressure may prompt a significant update or naming of persons of interest. Other residents may face charges like obstruction or conspiracy if evidence suggests intentional silence. That's household scrutiny. Geographic expansion. Critics argue for a broader searches, example, highways, border crossings, though the RCMP's focus remains local. So the Sullivan's case is a complex interplay of investigative challenges, cultural trauma, and systemic inequities. Below are some key points. Hold on. Analytical points. Let me scroll all the way down. No, hold on. That's just a synopsis of what I just read. So let me see. The disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan is a haunting mystery marked by a void of physical evidence, a narrowing investigative focus on the household, and deep cultural complexities. The RCMP's shift from a wandered off theory to a suspicious disappearance, supported by polygraphs and device seizures, points to a criminal act, likely orchestrated within the home. Daniel Martell's prominence as a person of interest, combined with the household's collective silence, suggests a web of secrecy or fear obstructing of the truth. The case also exposes systemic failures and the lack of an Amber Alert premature search termination. And evasive communication reinforce Indigenous communities' distrust of authorities. The Micmac perspective highlights how historical trauma, particularly child welfare practices, may drive family silence as a protective act. Until the RCMP breaks through the silence, whether through digital evidence, interrogations, or community collaboration, the question remains, where are Lily and Jack? The investigation's next steps will likely intensify scrutiny on Daniel and Malaya, with other household members, with potential charges looming if evidence emerges. However, without cultural sensitivity and transparency, the RCMP risks further alienating the community, perpetuating a cycle of injustice. The Sullivan case is not just a mystery, it's a call for systemic change, demanding that Indigenous lives be prioritized with urgency, empathy, and accountability. So the Micmac elders' perspective on the disappearance of Jack and Lily Sullivan, as it was presented, it provides a culturally grounded, critical viewpoint that challenges the wandered off theory and situates the case within the broader context of Indigenous trauma and systemic distrust. We just really went over that, didn't we? Let me go see what you guys had to say. What's going on, Kip Rich? Good to see you, girl. Well, I don't know. We don't know that to be true in that sense. We don't know that there to be. A lot of people are talking about it. Look at Dolly's over there talking about it. I haven't really noticed. Maybe I'm slipping. I don't know, bro. A case in point is that the Madeline McCann are paranoid to the social class. Yeah, there's also that too. The Madeline McCann situation. We scroll up a little bit. Good to see you, Shay. Find Summer's Truth. What's going on, Soldier Girl? Good to see you, girl. Let me see. Sweet tea. Hello, hello. Yeah, Chris Watts. Oh my God. Oh my God. So what do you guys think? Let me go find. I think I've got this pulled up. No, I don't. Or do I? Yes, I did.